Guru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. My name is Rajinder Kaur and this is Jaspal Kaur. We're both going to show you how to make a kachera today. The kachera is one of our 5 Kaurs, and we normally use a white colour. And today we're going to use a poly cotton material. Some people use a cotton material, it's a personal choice. The most important thing about making a kachera is that it has to be sewn in a rave way. So you have to sew it along the diagonal of a material. You can't just have, like a piece of material that looks like the shape of a kachera, but then it's not sewn on it. So it should be a real kachera. So you have to cut it like a pillowcase. You have to sew a pillowcase and cut it from there. You have to cut it from a pillowcase. You can't just have a width of kachera and sew it as you see it. It has to be sewn in a special way. Right, so we want to make this kachera. The only things you need to know is you need to know the width of it and the length. Yeah. So on this kachera, we want to have 37. We want it 37 wide across here. So what you do is you get your kachera and you decide how wide do I want my kachera. So you measure across from here to here. So we want it about 37 wide. And then you decide, right, what length do I want it? So you measure from here to the top, and we want 15. Remember that on the top of a kachera you always have a nip at the top, so you have to fold. So you always have to leave 2 inches to fold at the top as well. So with this kachera, we know we want it 37 wide, and the way to measure the kapara is you say, whatever that length is, I want to take 4 inches off that. So I want 37, take away 4 is 33 inches. So one side of my kapara should be 33 inches. The other side of my kapara, I want 15. On the 15, I want to add the 2 inches that I'm going to put for my nipper, that's 17. And then, because the kachera is always like double, yeah, because this is like fold, there's a fold. So it's 17, and then you're going to double it. So you say 17 times by 2, because you obviously have a fold in there. That's 34. And from that 34 measurement that you've got, you're going to add 4 more inches on. So that's 38 inches. So let me just explain that one again, because that's the hardest one. So whatever your length is, add 2 inches, and then that's 15 add 2 is 17. Double that, which is 34, and then from that, add 4 more inches onto that, 38, yeah? So my material that I need, I now know, I want it 33 by 38, yeah? So I cut a piece of material that's 33 inches one way and 38 inches the other way. So all you do with this material is, the side that's 33 inches, you want to fold that. So you always be careful, and sometimes I get confused and I think I'm not sure which way to fold it, but the best way to remember is, if you fold it like this, now you know that when you eventually sew your kachera, what you're going to do is you've got to fold here and you're going to sew all your open sides. So that side is open, that top bit's open, and that side is open. So I'm going to sew like a pillowcase. And I'll sew those 3 sides. And what will happen eventually, and this is the way to be sure, have I set my kapara properly, is when you eventually cut your kachera, this diagonal width is approximately how much your kachera is going to be. So can you see it's going to be approximately 37, so straight away you know, right, I've got it set the right way. Because sometimes you can fold it the wrong way, and then you'll make a mistake. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to sew the 3 open sides. So that side, and this side. Okay. So all I'm doing is I'm sewing all the open sides. So what we've got is we've got like a pillowcase. So we've sewn the top side, which was open,
this left hand side and right hand side, yeah? And you've got like a pillowcase. So what you want to do then is you want to get two corners, any two corners, and
Diagonal corners.
we've got two diagonal corners, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut down these corners. This is actually the hardest part. Okay. Now the most important thing when you're going to do this cut is, remember this is a join, yeah? It's a fold. Make a little slit first. And then put your kimchi through. And the problem is if you do get a cut in the bottom one, you could have a little mark anywhere in your kachera. So you have to be very careful with your kimchi not to touch this bottom. But as you can see, there's one fold in the middle there. You don't want to get that. You don't want to cut that. Make sure as you're doing it, fold that one so it's out of the way. Keep moving it as you're cutting down this diagonal. Then you haven't got a chance of cutting it. Yeah, we can move it out of the way slightly. Okay, so now that you've done that cut, the next thing you do is the two corners that you're not touching, that you've not cut, if you hold both corners, what should happen hopefully is you should have something that looks like a kachera. So from the gutla, which was the pillowcase, we've managed to make a kachera.
We just need to cut the poncho now.
It doesn't matter if it's not exactly equal from the top, because we will be cutting from the top anyway.
Now to cut the poncho.
Okay, now on this kachera, we wanted 12 inches for the poncho to be ready 12 inches. So we wanted basically that to be 12 inches. So because the poncho has this chili in the middle of it, leave yourself half an inch for that. So cut, instead of cutting 12 inches, cut 12.5 inches. Yeah, because you're going to put that in as well. So all I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut from this edge, just down this fold, all the way up to that 12.5 inch mark. The other side exactly the same way. Mark 12.5 inches and then cut down the fold. Now the only last thing left to do on this kachera is we want to measure how much lasan we need, and then we want to make the mark for that. So
We want a 13-inch lasan.
okay, bring me that kachera. So basically on this kachera, this was the length. This bit here, from here to here, the middle bit, that is your asan, this measurement here. So remember, you're going to fold as well 2 inches. So you measure how much asan you need and then add 2 inches to it. Yeah? So it's 12.5. So it's about 14.5. Right, this is where I cut my poncho from. Yeah? So this is my lambai. And my asan is my middle bit. So from my middle bit, I want to cut 14.5. Yeah. So all you have to do now is you just want to cut a slant from the top of your kachera here. Just make sure it's all equal to that mark. Different, even like this isn't not that much different. But if it was say a man's kachera, you might have it, because like what they wear for when they play gadka, they have very long kacheri. Yeah, so the kachera might be up to here, but the asan is obviously still going to be how much you keep, how much it normally would be. So they would have a really big slant. Yeah, so like for instance, say their kachera would in length, because they wear them really long up to their gode, so their kachera might go all the way up to here. But their asan will still be the same amount, so you would have to do like a very big godai there.
But this is a general 2-inch slant is for a general small kachera.
Approximately 2 inches.
For ladies or a
the most important thing is make sure your asan doesn't get smaller. You know, you want a slight slant there, but you know, don't try and think, well, I want 2 inches and then whatever comes out. Just make sure you get your asan plus your 2 inches, so that doesn't get small, and then whatever comes out, hopefully it should be, you know, a reasonable slant. Because that's what gives the kachera the shape. But this is called a real kachera because it's been sewn on the diagonal. One other thing we can do actually before we finish. On the kachera we can mark, because we're going to put a nala in there, and for the nala what you need is to put your nala in, you need an opening, so we can make a slit here, so that when we're going to put our nala in, we've got a space to fit the nala through. So we could do like an inch slit in here. So that's our kachera cut. Yeah.
Now for the poncho.
Yeah. You can see the shape come there. Yeah. So now the next thing we need is we need a poncho for this. So what we say is right, okay, this was about 12 inches. What we could do is we could add about 3 inches onto that. So if we want like 12 inches, say 15 inches, 15.5, that's 12.5. So say we want this 15.5, this poncho, because what we're going to do is, if you look at the final product, what happens is once you sew your poncho on, the poncho is usually extra than the end of the kachera. That's 12.5, and I cut this one 15.5 inches, but because it's going to go from here all the way and then all the way around the back side, what you do is you say, right, 15.5, I'm going to double that, so I'm going to cut a piece of material that's 31 inches all the way in length. Yeah,
and it's 3.5 inches wide.
Yeah, and then so that will fit the front and the back, and then this is 3.5 inches wide.
So the folded bit of the poncho will be attached to the folded bit of the kachera.
Yeah. So the next thing we have to do is we want to sew the poncho. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark on there where the 12.5 inches. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew. Actually, I could do, before I do that, I can actually sew it.
Let's just sew.
What I do, yeah, I'll sew it first because it'd be easier. What you do is you get this piece of material, and to make the poncho, you just fold it twice, and then you can do 3 stitches, one at the edge, one at the end, and one in the middle, and that's your 3 stitches to your poncho. So if I quickly sew that, and then I'll show you how to fit it on. So you can see I've got 3 stitches on that. Right, this is my poncho. So what I want to do is I want to measure. What I could do is, because I know it was 12.5 inches that I cut from here to here, what I could do is I could cut this, mark this 12.5 inches as well. Okay, so this was 12.5, so I've measured from here 12.5 inches. And then what I want to do is I want to join from there to the end. So I just need to do a little stitch from here down to here to join that. So I've just done a very, very small stitch right near the edge because I don't want to take up too much. I just want it so it looks like that, so it's now joined. Yeah. But I don't want to use up too much of that material, so right at the edge, just do a stitch to join these two together. Now the last bit of this poncho is a jilly. All you do is you just get a little piece of material like that. Doesn't really matter too much in terms of measurements.
3 inches by 1.5.
Yeah, it's not so important. Basically, what you're going to do is this is going to actually go inside. So what we're going to do is when we sew a Kachera on, we sew it like this. Then we put our jilly on. So I folded it. It's got folded. I put my jilly on here. So dimensions are not so important. Basically, I'm then going to sort of stitch from about here to here. So from here and here to here, yeah. So that's how I will sew my jilly on. So firstly, whereabouts would I sew my jilly? Well, because that was 12.5 and I left 1/2 inch for my jilly, I could say approximately 1/2 inch. So you could sort of put it 1/2 inch before if you want. There's 2 ways of doing this. One is you could sew it on first straight away. So I could say, right, that was 12.5, at 12 inches I'll sew my jilly on. And so I would pin it maybe there. Yeah, and I would do my stitches. Might be a good idea to pin this on. So I'm saying, right, approximately this is where I'm going to put it. At 12 inches. But because this Kachera is riv, when you actually join the poncho, and I'll show you how you join the poncho on, this stretches. So sometimes, you might think, right, I'm only going to show 1/2 inch, but because that material is stretching, I'll show you how you join it and then you'll understand. So you turn the Kachera the right way around. Yeah. I'll turn the Kachera the right way around. And I get my poncho like that, and then the next thing I do is I've got this. What I will do is I will mark its middle point, and then I will do my stitch. So I'm saying, right, approximately this is where I'm going to put it. At 12 inches. But because this Kachera is riv, when you actually join the poncho, this stretches. So sometimes, you might think, right, I'm only going to show 1/2 inch, but because that material is stretching, And I'll mark this at its middle point as well. And basically I'll align those two so I know where the middle. Remember, this is the front of the cupola now, and this is
Front as well.
the way this is going to join. It's going to join with your stitches showing, you know, your fold showing there. So basically what I would do is, where my fold is, I'm aligning that fold with there, so I know that's my middle point. I'm going to show two of my stitches because that looks quite nice.
You just need to have a slight hem on your Kachera poncho,
Yeah.
to attach it to the poncho.
So basically, if you're a beginner, I would definitely recommend at this point you pin, because one, is very hard to sew a poncho. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to keep folding this top material about this much, say.
Just about half an inch, quarter of an inch.
Quarter of an inch, I'd say, yeah. So you keep folding it, but remember, because it's live, do not stretch it. Let it just go naturally, how it you know, how it stays on there. The more you pull it, the more it will stretch, and then you might have problems when you get to the other end, and that your jilly might, you might see loads of your jilly. It doesn't really matter, but so we can see from here how much of our jilly is going to show. Is it too much? If it looks like it's too much, we can always move it down at this point. Because remember, this material is stretching as well. Sometimes what you will find, this is what you have to be careful of, sometimes you might find that this side is, although we marked it, we thinged it at the middle there, you might find, well, this side is less. Can you see this side looks slightly less? Not like that side seems more stretched. If you ever come to that and you find, oh no, this side goes down to here and that side's too much, you know, that side's not going to fit properly. What you can always do is you can always like do a little stitch like this for any excess. If you ever come across a problem, really it should be fine, but if you ever come across a problem, always do a little, you can always do like a little val here, anywhere you like. If you find one side stretching more than the other side and you know that the jilly's not fitting properly. Right, I'm going to move this jilly just slightly further back.
This is the fiddliest part, making the poncho.
Yeah, it's quite difficult to do. So, as you can see, yeah, when we sew it, it will be like that. Obviously I'll sort it out once I sew it, but approximately that's what it should look like. I could even move that even further back, because there's still quite a bit showing, but you get the idea, yeah? Okay, what I'll do is I'll sew it on. But since I know, I'll sew this on now. So basically, I've just attached this material to that. It doesn't matter how you attach it. You can just do any stitch you like. Now we're going to actually sew the poncho. This is actually the hardest part of sewing.
It's always best to start that corner, isn't it?
You can do. If you give me one pin, I'll just pin it here. Remember, it is going to, you have to be quite careful because it is going to stretch. So maybe a good idea, we can start from there, but I suggest if you're a beginner, start from here and then work your way around. But we need to get all this material. Look at this. So you can start from here, or you can start from there. It's up to you, whichever way.
A beginner will normally start from that end all the way there, and from that end all the way there.
I'll do it that way. So remember how I've got my material now. I've got it so you just place it properly in your machine basically, so that you can go all the way around.
Make sure you take the pins out before you sew it, otherwise you'll break the pins.
Now remember, the most important thing is not to pull on this top material, because this material is weird, it means it will definitely stretch. So the less you pull on it, the better. So just try to be as lax as possible on that top material.
You should be able to see two seams of the Kachera poncho, two seams. It just looks nicer that way.
Always be careful and check what's underneath when you're sewing this.
Now we could do another seam just above that.
Yeah. What we can
so
do,
that you can see 4 seams in total. 2 on the poncho and 2 on top of the Kachera.
to reinforce it, so basically I'll show you what it looks like now. So now we've sewn our jilly on, and we've sewn the poncho onto the Kachera. Yeah. What we can do is we could do another seam on top of that. One, it reinforces it. 2, it looks nice. You can either leave a little bit of space, you know, like this one show, you could leave a little bit of space, or you can do it on top. I usually leave a little bit of a gap. But that's kind of more for just to reinforce it. But basically the poncho is now on.
As you can see from the inside, it's loose, so we need to sort that out later.
Yeah,
It's loose from the
that's the
side.
next job. So what we'll do is I'll just quickly do one more seam on top of it. So now we've done the hard bit. This bit is the easy bit. Basically I would just start on top of that other seam from here. And then just a little bit of a gap. So you've got a seam sort of adjoining that other one. So the hardest bit actually is putting the Kachera on. If you pin it first, and be careful not to stretch, because the more you stretch, the more it's going to get bigger and bigger, and it's harder to put on. if you ever come across problems, you do a fold in the material. So if you ever come across a problem, do like a little fold. If one side is extending too much, do a little fold like that, and that should sort it out. That's our poncho done. Yeah, that's what it should look like. Approximately, you've got like 2 sienna there, you've got 2 sienna there to reinforce it. Yeah. So all we've got left now is the underside of this poncho, of the stick, the underside of this poncho, because that's obviously not joined now. So all you want to do is, basically you just want to
create a small hem around the poncho and just join it to the kachera.
You just want to, basically you just want to fold, like, again, maybe half an inch, quarter of an inch, put a pin there, and you want to do the same thing all the way around. I know this is a nice clean edge, but the other side of the poncho might not be. So if you've got a nice clean edge, obviously you don't need to bother. If they're both got nice clean edges, then you don't need to bother folding, obviously, if your other poncho has as well. But
that's the selvage end, so
yeah. But if the other side hasn't got a nice clean edge, then it's sensible to fold both of them, because then they'll look the same. So you just fold it in
and just put a seam over it.
Yeah. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it about half an inch, maybe quarter of an inch, and then sew it all the way around, so basically that joins on. We're going to join this bit to the main kachera. Yeah. Okay. The thing to be careful on this is, because you're doing it upside down, make sure that the bottom kachera is all, the path is all clear. You haven't got no val in the bottom bit when you do the join. So again, a good idea to pin. I'll try to do it without pinning. Let's see if I can do it. It's quite thick right now. The machine can struggle.
Beginners will normally pin and tack it before they sew it.
Yeah. So I'm just folding it. So the most important thing is make sure you don't have a crease in this bottom bit when you do it. So always work, every time you put it down, check that your material's flat at the bottom. For instance, I've come across this seam. Make sure the seam stays the same way, it's pointing the same way, so it's facing that way in this instance. So that's your poncho sewn, and then from the other side you should be able to see your poncho sewn from there with your jilly, and then all the way down to the front. So basically, there's your poncho. Yeah.
In the same way you'd make the other poncho too.
The other poncho is done exactly the same way, and so the last thing you've got left is basically the nipper. I won't bother doing the nipper, but what I will do is I'll show you the jilly and I'll show you how to start the nipper. So basically do like a triangle shape, yeah, and another triangle there. So just get a pin maybe on this side. Remember the nipper is, again, it's even, it's quite hard to sew, but it's not difficult in the technique, it's not difficult in terms of what you have to do. It's just that it's not so easy to sew as a salwar nipper, but it's the same sort of thing that you're trying to achieve. You've made that. All you're going to do for your nipper, I'll just explain it. I might start it up as it's not. So what you want to do,
I would normally pin the nipper,
yeah,
2 inches, leave 2-inch gap down here.
But
and if you want, you can tack it before you sew it.
It's up to you how big your nipper. Remember, we've left about 2 inches. But I mean, obviously, if you're not going to put elastic that's really thick, then you can do it less if you need. But say we're going to do about that much. So basically, all the way around, you're going to sew. So you're just going to keep folding and measure about the same width each time, and sew all the way around.
If there's a problem, you could just put a pleat on the top material.
So basically, I would start my stitch and I would just sew all the way down. Keep pinning it as you do it. We'll pin it first if it's easy for you. Remember, this is stretching again, so don't pull too much. And you sew all the way around. The problem with the nipper sometimes is that you might find, okay, I'm coming along nicely and I've got like about that width. It's the same all the way down, and then all of a sudden I come to a problem where, oh no, it's getting less. What shall I do? Yeah, because it's veil, it might do that. And the way to overcome it is you do a little val like that. If you do a little val like that, it will actually, bring it back, and you'll be able to do like the same width again. So that's sort of the trick if you get problems with the nipper. But basically, it's the same as a salwar nipper, and you just pin it all the way around, and you sew it. And that, and that's basically the Kachera I made things. As you can see, there's one we made earlier.
And this is the nipper.
The nipper's been done.
As you can see, there was a problem here when I was sewing it. So I just put a slight pleat on that material.
Yeah.
Because it's different to salwar. Salwar nipper is a lot easier. Because Kachera nipper is, because the kapra is rave.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get into problems.
That pleat is the same pleat that we said you can put on the bottom of the poncho if you get into any problems. Similar little pleat. Yeah.
It's a tiny little pleat. I think I might have done another one on the other end.
But because remember also, this side was higher than this side because our arsenal was smaller. So you usually get into problems when you get to the top bit here sometimes, so you usually do have to put a pleat in, but it does sort it out. But basically it's just folding and sewing, the way you normally would on a salwar. Just fold it a bit and sew all the way around the same sort of width. And the nala, to make a nala, that's straightforward. All you do is you just get a piece of material just get any material.
A long piece of material.
You get a long piece of material. Well, if it's not long enough, just put a joint on it. And basically, it's just do a couple of folds. So, obviously, I wouldn't do it this big. Say it was about this wide. I'd cut that. Say it's about this wide. You know, just fold it once inwards this way, once inwards this way, and fold it once more, and that's a nala, basically. So, nala's not very difficult at all. You're basically just folding your material in.